Another month has come and gone, and it is time for the May Choose Our Own Adventure. I'm joined, as always, by my merry band of cohorts. Who do we have going around the table?
Brian Martin, trivia host. Lunch eater.
Yeah, there we go.
Bacon aficionado.
Oh, okay. Then I'll need to see your credentials later on, sir.
Where's your license?
Leslie Ellsworth, host of the Weekly Prophet.
Jermon Jackson, decorated trivia champion. 1/4 of the bronze medalist Queen City PodQuest champions.
Well, I guess that covers it all.
There we go.
And it's me. So, before we do anything else, as is unfortunately standard on this show, we got to start with the RIPs.
Are we the problem here? Are we sweet causing this?
Is it us? I feel like it's us.
People are dying
R.I.P.
left and right. because-
R.I.P. Queen City PodQuest.
Yes.
Yes, RIP to the Queen City PodQuest, of which we fell short of our goal. But
But the real PodQuest was the friends we made along the
Yes.
way,
We made some
what
lifelong.
friends did we make along the way?
Joni.
right? Mike
8 weeks,
Collins.
we made one friend. Oh, okay. All right.
I didn't get to that, unfortunately.
RIP to 3. We lost 3 within the last time we've done the episode. Tim Conway of McHale's Navy, man.
And Speed 2. I was sort of right about that on the action movie draft. He did appear at the end of Speed 2 as the car salesman. But he did not come anywhere near Speed 1, so I still didn't know what I was talking about. Just want to make that clear.
RIP to Doris Day, man, one of the popular stars back in the 50s and 60s, and co-star of The Man Who Knew Too Much, the Alfred Hitchcock movie.
I thought you were going to the third one. Who's the third one?
Of course, old Pete Mayhew.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk
we
about
thought-
Grumpy Cat.
No Peggy Lipton?
Who?
Peggy Lipton.
Why does the name sound familiar to me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Twin Peaks.
Oh,
Mod
yeah.
Squad,
You're
that's
right.
right.
Wait. Who's
The Mod Squad show?
the mother of
Yeah,
Rashida
the
Jones.
show.
Oh, I didn't know this was Rashida
Yeah,
Jones'
the
mom.
Mod Squad show, yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
Man, that one
So-
slipped by me.
So we got a lot of dead. It's just bodies littering the ground. It's like that last week's episode of Game of Thrones, but in real life.
terrible. And man, Chewbacca is gone.
That's hard.
The second of the old schools. Kenny Baker, right?
Kenny Baker's
Kenny
gone.
Baker.
Man. Oh, Carrie Fisher.
Well, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
I mean Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not
Alec
part
Guinness.
of the main
R.I.P.
band of heroes.
Alec Guinness.
We're not talking
Too
about
soon.
the third key grip on the movie. We're not going that deep.
The guy who played Admiral Ozzel died like 10 years ago.
That's because they came at a light speed too close. We see what happened to Admiral Ozzel.
His tombstone says, "As clumsy as he is stupid."
Okay,
Sorry, Peter Mayhew. Yeah.
Yeah, good old Pete Mayhew. Bumped into that dude once a couple years back. That motherfucker was tall.
he just stood up, and you were like,
I thought you were
It was
standing up.
It was like Griff.
The over-the-shoulder shot.
Yeah.
All you see is my eyebrows. All right, then. So are we ready to get into the month's adventures and what people have chosen for us?
Stargate all the way.
Maybe.
Let us Stargate it all up. All right, let's start with Brad, who had an interesting observation. We'll call it that. From Avengers Endgame. He says, and I quote, "In Endgame, we see Tony starting off living a family life, ostensibly happy, possibly not fulfilled, but whatever. Steve Rogers has never had that life. It was taken from him in a sense. Cap helps convince Tony to postpone the family life, undo the snap, which leads directly to Tony's death, leaving behind a young daughter and wife. It also leads to Steve Rogers traveling through time and dimensions to claim that life for himself, as Steve, in effect, stolen Tony's life."
I think that's a very pessimistic look at this.
In one sense, I'm like, Steve's a selfish bastard. But in the other sense, like, he doesn't know anything to anybody.
He did his time. He did
his
served the
time.
He deserved it.
I have to disagree with not with you guys. I agree with you guys.
Yeah,
I have
straight
to
you do.
disagree with Brad.
We all do.
Yes.
I think to say that Cap stole Tony's life, that implies that there was some sort of intention behind it. Steve did not try to convince. Wow, my brain. Steve didn't try to convince Tony to help save people. in order to have that life for himself.
In order to get up in
You
Gwyneth
know.
Paltrow, like he wasn't trying to do. Ain't nobody trying to do that.
Nope,
Like
nope.
he
Cray-cray.
had no
Cooped up.
ulterior motive. He didn't know that he'd get a chance to have that life. He didn't know Tony would die. So from that aspect, absolutely no. And then beyond that, I think that also downplays, Tony's own desire to bring back Peter and the other people that died, and what it meant to him to have Pepper's support with it too.
Yeah.
And to have her acknowledge the type of man that he is, and how he would feel if he didn't do it.
Yeah, even with him telling them, he's like, look, I'm not doing this. I got, even deep down, he knew it was the right thing to do because he was still tinkering with things. He can't help himself.
All you got to do is plant
Exactly.
the idea,
Yeah.
and it's going to be enough to get him in eventually.
Steve incepted Tony.
Yeah, that's it.
I think, and this kind of goes in with, like, say, the buddy comedy or the buddy cop comedy where you have these two polar opposites, like saying Steve and Tony, and usually by the end of the movie they take a little bit from each other.
Yeah.
Like where Steve was, he was all about just doing the right thing no matter what, even at the sacrifice of his own life. But eventually he decides, hey, maybe I should go ahead and get my own life.
Yeah.
And then, on the
Give
other
me a
end,
little some of that.
yeah, and then Tony did the exact opposite. Like
Maybe he was
eventually-
inspired. He was
Yeah.
inspired by, hey, there's Gwyneth Paltrow and him, and they live in this nice house.
Yeah.
They got a nice kid. Maybe I could go back in time and get with, that hot British chick.
Hot British chick. I think that idea didn't come into Steve's head until they were in the 1970s.
I think
That's-
I bet
Yeah.
I bet it came into his head when he was fighting himself and he realized how beautiful his ass was.
And he was like,
I was like, I could see it on my own ass, and it was like this moment of radical clarity, and he was like, must go back in time, show my ass.
Peggy needs to see this ass. Unfettered. Yeah. I don't think
Wild
Steve is
asses
unfettered.
can't be broken.
So Steve stole the extra Pym particles before he bumped into Peggy and them, right?
Yes. That's
Or
like
or at this,
simultaneous.
yeah,
I think.
yeah. Like he was taking them, she was in the other room.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he gets Pym out the room. He steals Pym particles, and then he's hiding from that community woman.
Yeah.
And then that's when he bumps into Peggy. So I think you put it best, Jamon. It was a little bit of give and take. Tony took that selfless Steve route, and Steve is like, it's time for a little bit of me time.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, that has now created every bit of fallout and time travel, and the writer's trying to explain shit, and the director's trying to explain shit, and they're not on the same page. Which means I just have to see the movie 2 or 3 more times to figure it all out.
Oh, of course.
It just means that the only person in the MCU that's smart enough to maintain the timeline and avoid any changes was Peggy Carter.
You think so?
Yeah, because they've said that the original timeline involves Steve being there as Peggy's husband.
I've actually gone back. I started watching Agent Carter again just to kind of see where it all like fits in, and like I'm about 2 episodes in, and it's actually pretty cool even just to see the Easter eggs now after seeing all these Marvel movies. Like I think the first episode, Anton Vanko's in there, like who they
okay,
mentioned in
that's what's
Iron
up.
Man 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
That-
so much connective tissue now.
There was
It's
a
like-
lot in there, and even Zola shows up.
Yeah,
I don't want to spoil anything about Agent Carter, but Zola does show up in a brief cameo at one point.
Was it Toby?
Yeah.
whatever his name was?
Toby Jones.
Yep.
Toby Jones?
Yeah.
Toby Jones does show up.
Yeah, because what the fuck else is Toby Jones doing?
Atomic Blonde.
I think
He was one of those dudes interrogating Charlize Theron in the first.
That's right.
I feel like there's not a lot Toby Jones will say no to, but he's got like a lot of time because he's not like leading man material most of the time.
Yeah.
All of the time.
So there was the Truman Capote movie he was in where he was like.
You mean the Philip Seymour Hoffman movie?
There were 2 Capote movies. He was Truman Capote in another movie, not the
one we don't talk
Hoffman.
about.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
So I mean, they tried it once.
Back to supporting a character for you. So
Right.
back to supporting actor. You and the rest of that guys from our other episodes. Aw.
Wait, you're not Philip Seymour Hoffman? Out.
All right. So let's move it on over to young Vikram, a choose our own adventure regular. He says you're tasked with making the next quote unquote big hit Pixar movie that makes inanimate objects alive, like Toy Story does for toys. You cannot choose something that's been done before, which means you can't just add on another Cars or another Coco, or whatever the case may be. But it can't be abstract, like the Inside Out movie. They did feelings. Coco was obviously a whole bunch of ghosts and the spirits in the afterlife and whatnot. So we have to pitch the next big Pixar joint.
What, we're pitching a movie on this show? Go figure.
Welcome to the movie pitch show. Who would like to go first on this one?
Oh, boy.
Sure, why not?
Oh, okay.
So I will leave it to our listeners to help me come up with a title for this movie. I think I would go with a sort of anthology that focuses on an adult and a child who are outside stargazing, and the adult is telling the stories of the constellations. And so as that happens, we kind of go through a cosmic swirl and go back into and explore the Greek mythology behind the constellations.
Nice.
You can call it Big Dipper, Little Dipper.
I was thinking more like along the lines of Andromeda. She was the daughter of the king and queen of Ethiopia, who was chained to a rock as a sacrifice, but rescued by Perseus. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you could just stick with their story because there are a lot of the constellations. But you could also go with like Orion or the Hydra or anything like that.
It's just the whole movie of Orion and Men's Warehouse trying to find a good belt.
Yes.
All right. The stars. I like it. I can get down with that. I'll go next. No, too bad Across the Stars is already taken. Beatles! I fucking love that movie, by the way. Mine is the story of a famous explorer named Mr. Gumdrop and his sidekick Gingerbread Girl as they do battle against the villainous Lord Licorice, who holds King Candy and Queen Frostine captive in the Candy Castle.
Very nice.
Along the way, they join up with allies Jolly, who's a depressed, chubby gumdrop monster, and Gloopy, a chocolate monster, to defeat the evil Lord Licorice. And there's giant set-piece action scenes set in the Licorice Forest and Snowflake Lake, and of course, Nana's Nut House, with the final confrontation held at the Candy Castle, for Lord Licorice threatens to reveal the hidden candy land to the outside world, disrupting their happy existence. My movie is directed by Wes Anderson. Mr. Gumdrop is voiced by Jermon Jackson.
Thank you.
The always optimistic gingerbread girl is voiced by Leslie Ellsworth.
But of course.
King Candy is voiced by me. Queen Frostine is voiced by Paprika listener Candace Carpenter. And, of course, the evil Lord Licorice, voiced by Brian Martin. I'm doing Candyland, the movie.
I like
nice,
it.
Nice.
I like it.
Yes.
I'll go next. Yes, my Pixar movie is a movie called Clean Living. It's
Already sounds ridiculous.
It's the story of some anthropomorphic cleaning supplies, and it explores the nature between humans and their cleaning supplies. Now, these cleaning supplies are, they're used by these people and just basically discarded, and they want to show people that they're more than that. That there's an artistic side and they have souls and everything. So they decide to show these people they want to put on an off-Broadway production of The Lion King. Now,
What?
Now, the main characters, we have Samuel L. Jackson voicing this bucket named Fuck It the Bucket.
2 tears in a bucket.
Yes. Zach Galifianakis is Dusty the Feather Duster.
Okay.
Nice, nice.
Got John Ratzenberger as Muddy the Plunger.
Of course.
John Ratzenberger.
He's in all of them.
Yeah. You got to get him in there.
Queen Latifah is Soppy the Mop. And then John Goodman is Robert the Sponge. Now, he once tried to pitch this cartoon idea 20 years ago to Nickelodeon, and they turned him down, and they ended up stealing it from him. So he's very bitter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Randy Newman soundtrack still. Yes, I just that scene of seeing Sam Jackson as Fuck It the Bucket, as Simba, doing a Hakuna Matata.
Yes.
It's a wonderful phrase, motherfucker.
Hakuna Matata means fuck it.
I thought it meant no worries. Not today, I don't.
No, fuck it.
Sold. All right, Mr. Martin.
Mine involves the hair on Donald Trump's head.
Sold.
gaining sentience, and enlisting the support of famous presidential hair throughout history to help him escape Donald Trump's head.
Okay.
So it's a documentary.
It's
It's a heist.
Did you manage to tie in that caterpillar that also looks like Donald Trump's?
no, we could do it though. That could definitely be in
Yeah.
there. So we got Donald Trump's hair, we've got Abe Lincoln's beard, and we've got President Taft's mustache, and they all join forces to escape from Donald Trump's head, and it's called All the President's Hair.
Can we get like a James Monroe powdered wig in there as well?
Those rolly hairs, fake hairs, yeah.
rolly,
The
fake
fake hair
hairs.
can come in, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
Just always
man.
trying to join the team. You're not real. Brian, let me go on a wild guess and say you thought that up like 30 minutes before the show started.
No, I've been working on it since Friday.
Even better. Oh, goodness, even better.
Taft's mustache was a late addition,
Okay,
but I
all
definitely
right.
had the general idea
Nice.
a few days ago.
I like it. I like it.
I was just thinking, like, what inanimate object in this world would probably be screaming the most right now?
That's,
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's a strange way to start off an idea, but I like it, sir.
I'd love to see the merch.
Yeah.
Screaming hair pieces. All right, then. Well, moving right on along here. This one comes from, you know what? We're gonna skip that one for now. This one comes from Ryan Elliott, a new member to the Patreon. Thank you for listening, Ryan. And his very first contribution, why can't we get an R-rated G.I. Joe?
Because we don't need one.
We don't need one.
I would argue that what we actually need is a good G.I. Joe movie, not an R-rated G.I. Joe movie.
What if it was a good R-rated G.I. Joe movie?
I still don't think we need an R-rated
It wouldn't be
movie.
G.I. Joe to me. Like I think the whole charm of G.I. Joe is that camp factor.
Okay.
I mean, it's literally like like the Army on Casual Friday.
I'm just generally...
I was in the military for 12 and a half years, and never once did I get a casual Friday.
You can dress up like a boat skipper.
Yeah, I mean, G.I. Joe.
Pads. You can.
G.I. Joe is an endless casual Friday.
Yeah, it really is.
I just have this inherent issue with this sort of feeling that everything we loved as kids must grow up with us. Yeah. So if I loved like the Smurfs as a kid, as an adult, I want to see them murder people.
Yeah.
Now that I've said that out loud,
I kind of do.
I kind of would like to see that. Like just see them eat Gargamel.
Yes.
With their sharp teeth. You know, they got them. But
at least
no,
the cat.
Azrael, that's where it starts.
It tastes for blood grows.
I just don't think we need an R-rated G.I. Joe movie.
That being said, I think we need an R-rated G.I. Joe movie. I want
Lionsgate will do it.
damn right Lionsgate do it. Thank you for reminding me that I still need to sell my Lionsgate stock. Now that it's taking a little bump up after John Wick 3, it's the perfect time to get out the game.
Yes.
Yes, I do want an R-rated. If not an R-rated G.I. Joe movie, I want a mature G.I. Joe comic from IDW. And that way, how about the best of both worlds?
Haven't they done that? Like, I feel like they've done that.
They've just had G.I. Joe comics, but they've all been like T+.
Did you guys ever see G.I. Joe Resolute, the cartoon series?
No.
Is that the one?
It was like maybe 6 episodes long, and it ran on Adult Swim probably 2004
I'm thinking maybe
or 5 maybe.
I'm thinking maybe Renegades. Then that was the later one they did, like after after the first movie or so.
Yeah, so they did it like a 6-issue series or 6-episode series or so called G.I. Joe Resolute, I think. And it was as adult as I ever need G.I. Joe to get.
Okay.
And it was rock solid, and it was definitely like teen plus, but like really, really good stuff that nobody knows about.
That's why I only lasted 6.
Yeah, I approached this pretty much the same way as Brian did, except just from the opposite direction.
You want just hardcore porn?
No, I mean the same answer.
Oh, that's as opposite as I could think of.
It's G.I.
It's G.I.
No, just that the original concept was based on toys and a cartoon, and while we've aged, those of us who watched this when we were children, we've aged, the original concept has not, and there hasn't been any specific need for it to. I liken it to the same reason that we don't typically get R-rated comic book movies. You know, we have Deadpool and Wolverine, right?
Watchmen.
And Watchmen.
Well, Watchmen
But
had to be.
superhero
the
movies
greatest
then.
comic book movie of all time.
You know, typically we don't get R-rated superhero movies. This is, to me, it's from the same place.
I don't get why Wolverine just doesn't walk around with his pants off in those movies all the time. Because we got the dong in Watchmen. Wolverine's got so much hair you'd never see the dong. What's the problem?
I don't think we need
R-rated. Dong.
Apparently, to Brian, R-rated equals dong.
Well, they had the gratuitous breast
Flaccid
shot in
dong.
there.
There you go.
Flaccid dong is R-rated. You get...
What is half staff?
Even a little rigidity gets you way over the
Gets you
line.
way-
Yeah, that's
Okay.
NC-17 automatic.
Yeah. Total
is
flaccidity.
flaccid.
Hey,
Oh,
incidentally,
okay.
real quick, G.I. Joe Resolute was a series of 5-minute long things that they later strung together into a full-length thing. It was written by Warren Ellis and directed by Joaquin Dos Santos from the Avatar. Avatar
show.
Last Airbender show.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it was legit. Like I remembered this being good, and yes, it was definitely good.
If only I liked Warren Ellis.
I don't know what the holdup is there.
I
man.
just can't. I don't get to
He's
it.
done some good work over the years.
I love me some Warren Ellis.
The only thing of Warren Ellis is that I like off the top of my head is the Moon Knight run that he did. Yeah, I want to mature G.I. Joe. I want to see the horrors of war. I want to see Cobra at their just absolute worst. I want to see the Joes doing horrible shit and sacrifices in the name of good, and it just weighing down on them, and some betrayal and loss and PTSD and veteran neglect. I want all of that in my G.I. Joe.
The same Cobra that actually ran a telethon to raise money.
Yeah, yes. that's how it starts. They're like, well, that one didn't work. Well, what else we got?
I want him to veer in the total opposite direction and go just so over the top campy. It's like almost like 21 Jump Street or something like that.
Not my daddy.
I feel like
See how inept Cobra truly is.
But I feel like the modern world now, it's like you could buy the fact that like Cobra Commander was a used car salesman.
Yeah.
Like if it took place today, it's like, well, that guy's definitely going to start some stuff. But it wouldn't be. But it wouldn't be like he was a car salesman and now he's secretly Cobra Commander. It would be just like he's definitely Cobra Commander. He's definitely trying to sell me a car.
he still has the car.
He's a terrorist. Why aren't we doing anything about it?
Now, which Cobra would you want? You want the faceplate Cobra Commander, or you want the drape face Cobra Commander?
I don't think they can do the hood.
Nah, see, that's
No.
my
There'll
favorite.
be some
Hood is
problems.
not good.
All right. You make a very good point. My favorite Cobra Commander is definitely drape face Cobra Commander.
Yeah. I always liked him as a kid, but I'm like, no,
That's not gonna hold up today.
It's not going to hold it today. I only had one casting for this, and it is Terry Crews's Roadblock. That's all I need in my life.
I can get behind that.
Maybe they'll do like a Bumblebee and it'll just be Roadblock.
Hey, kids, who wants a body massage?
He has
Bottom
to,
massage machine.
he has to do all his lines in rhyme.
Yeah.
Anybody got anything else for G.I. Joe?
I just never want to see a shipwreck spinoff or a beachhead spinoff. Beachhead, stinkiest of the Joes. His whole deal is he didn't shower. That was his specialty.
Oh, no, here, take my gun.
I'm not joking. Beachhead doesn't shower. They remark about how stinky he is.
Oh, so he's like, he's
Poor
the
hygiene. Just like,
he's the one Charlie Brown is just all getting the
Pig
dust
pen.
Yeah,
around.
Pigpen. He's the Pigpen of the Joes.
Whenever he moves around. I get down with that. Well, there you go.
So where's our adult Peanuts movie?
Just sadness and depression. The doctor is always out.
How many of the kids didn't make it past 20?
Charlie Brown was an aspiring athlete.
Trust
Missing that
issues for
football.
all women to Lucy. He's just got a weird obsession with brunettes.
redheaded
No,
I think we saw Charlie Brown.
Brown.
I think we saw Charlie Brown's future. I think he was Son of Sam. You want me to do what, Snoopy?
I just thought he was always an Asian kid, and he grew up to own the House of Leaves, and then the bride just came in and wrecked his whole show.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Definitely.
Charlie Brunja. All right. So, this one comes from Shannon, whose better half Scott was traveling, therefore he did not give us one. But this one comes from Shannon. You receive a single-screen old-style movie theater to manage for the weekend. Talk to me about your weekend lineup. Assume all movies you'd want are available for you to show. Making profit isn't a requirement. It's a small theater, and I said let's just do limited to 8 movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is the Paprika Theater showing? Anybody want to go first on this?
Now I have 2 answers for this. The easy
Ooh,
answer.
2 answers.
The easy answer is a Tarantino marathon.
That's 8 movies.
That's 8 movies.
Yeah, it is.
Right there.
That's not bad.
I decided to go, now my other answer here, I wanted to do a Kung Fu marathon.
Ooh.
Nice.
Now, I did a couple of movies from each of the big 3, like Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and then I added a couple more classics.
All right.
So I got Enter the Dragon, Chinese Connection, Rumble in the Bronx, Drunken Master 2, Fist of Legend and Tai Chi Master from Jet Li, and then Five Deadly Venoms and the Flying Guillotine.
That is a solid 70s, 80s kung fu run right there.
That's
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I would show up for pretty much all of that
Yeah.
screening. Yeah. Any of you guys ever see any old school kung fu movies in the theater?
Not in the theater.
Not in the
no.
theater,
No.
no.
I've been able to see Enter the Dragon in theater, and that's the only one I've ever seen.
I would love to. I think didn't they do an anniversary showing at one point?
I think they did, like,
the last 10
Fathom
years
did
or
it.
so?
Yeah. Such good stuff. All right, Leslie, what would your lineup be?
I went with a sci-fi weekend.
Ooh.
So I decided to start it out, a little weird, but not too bad, with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Nice.
Followed by Inception, because you're kind of playing with memories and dreams in both. Shake it up a little bit with 12 Monkeys. And then end that first night with Predestination.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's a whole mind fuck of a day.
Exactly. You need to go home and think about that shit. But I try to lighten it up the next day. We'll start out with Arrival, and then
Arrival or The Arrival?
Definitely Arrival.
Okay, all right.
Arrival. Yeah. Followed by Annihilation, Ex Machina, and ending it with Blade Runner 2049.
Nice.
Pretty good.
That day, too. Man.
That's some good.
Put me down for day
yeah,
2 right
that's
there.
solid.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah. When I was in Vienna, they had a theater there that had just turned 100 the year that I lived there, Berg Kino, and they, like, the first time I saw the marquee for Berg Kino, it had this just incredible array of directors and movies on the thing, and I was like, what the hell kind of theater is this? Because it was just, and what they had done, they had gone back over the course of 100 years and sort of cherry picked like the best of cinema for 100 years, and we're showing those movies.
Oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Some Fritz Lang in there.
There
Who knows?
was all sorts of stuff. So I kind of took that approach
All right.
and picked movies from the course of cinema history that I thought would be just a good, if you were just going to go in and just try to get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my group of movies, The Third Man, which played at this theater all the time because it takes place in post-war Vienna.
Yeah.
Third Man, North by Northwest, Raiders, The Godfather, Lawrence of Arabia, Jackie Brown, Singing in the Rain, and The Matrix.
That is a solid,
Very
nice.
solid lineup. So.
Very nice.
That's and while during that marathon, I did see North by Northwest and The Godfather on their screen, and they also did run Jackie Brown.
Ooh,
So,
okay.
so I was definitely inspired by that, but I was like, because I just love that idea. It's just like, how often we'll never have a theater that's 100 years old in America.
No.
Nope,
We're gonna tear that shit down, build another theater right back.
Yep.
But yeah, so just try to get as much from the 20th century as possible just on the screen for the weekend.
That is a good,
I like it.
good lineup.
Maybe
I like
do like one midnight show of The Room.
That it sneaks something and they just
Right.
completely drive down the quality of your.
But it's also going to make bank for the weekend. So
Hey, yeah, you're not wrong
Check
there.
your Rotten Tomatoes.
So we got a
score,
Rocky
just,
Horror Picture Show.
immediately goes to 40.
Mine was inspired by the Alamo Drafthouse, which I think is the greatest chain of theaters, and I miss mine greatly that I went to in San Antonio, and I cannot wait to go back. The best hamburger I've ever had was at the Drafthouse. I am doing 2 double features to start mine off, The Godfather and The Godfather 2. And it will be a menu for the audience there, the choice of spaghetti, fettuccine alfredo, or lasagna, along with applicable sides. My second double feature will be Superman 2 and Batman 1989. And each participant will get an 8x10 signed print of the cover of The Dark Knight Returns as signed by artist Klaus Janson, because we want nothing to do with Frank Miller. I will also be showing Lawrence of Arabia as my sweeping epic there. The audience for that gets nothing because that movie's 3 hours and 40 some odd minutes.
get out.
What they get is
You
get
got
out.
it already.
Yeah.
They get a jar of sand. Get out.
My 6th movie is a Big Lebowski quote along. And you get a complimentary White Russian.
I say that's fun. It sounds like it'll get annoying really quick.
No, I've been to quote-alongs, and they are fucking phenomenal.
All right.
Yeah, Draft House did them all the time. I think it was a Ferris Bueller quote-along. That was pretty good. Or it was Anchorman. I'm sorry, it was an Anchorman quote-along.
Okay.
You get a complimentary White Russian. You also get a robe and sunglasses provided to you in an empty Ralph's coffee can. And because this has been male heavy up until now, I'm also going to show Annihilation, and that's going to fill my sci-fi and my my women kicking some ass in there. And
What do you get for that one?
You get a free psychological evaluation.
Ooh, sign me up.
And then afterwards, to kind of wind things down, throw a rom-com in there. So I'm going to show When Harry Met Sally. And it's going to be a couples menu so you can have what she's having.
Nice. Very nice.
Do you have to have what she's having?
All right. The next one comes from one Mr. Duquan Swint, who often gives us a little bit to talk about here. Discuss what storyline / movie / episode / whatever evokes the greatest emotional response from you. Not including anger from poor writing or development or whatever, but what generally puts you in your feels. I had something else I was going to go. I was going to go with Battlestar Galactica's episode 33 Minutes, which is the first episode after the miniseries where they're just attacking every 33 minutes and everybody's just haggard and stressed the fuck out, because that episode makes me haggard and stressed the fuck out. But no, it's Endgame. It's got to be, for me, it's Endgame. There's just so much oscillating between cheering and crying in that third act that I think for anything recently, that's got to be it. For like Infinity War at the end, I was just like, man, that's fucked up. But then Endgame, I was just like, that's fucked up. So yeah, it's got to be Endgame for me, definitely. It's fresh. The wounds are still fresh.
Oh yeah.
And Steve stole Tony's life too, so I'm also mad about that.
Bastard.
Happy's the one buying his daughter burgers
Dude,
now.
so for the first time I watched it, and I was just like, oh man, that was a nice little touching throwback to Iron Man 1. And then the second time I really focused on Favreau, and dude, he's only on screen for like about 30 seconds in that scene. Dude, that 30 seconds is solid gold performance.
He looked like he was choked
like
up.
he was choked up, and
yeah.
then the second time it was just like, yeah, all over again. Man, that scene is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
contributing to obesity in America, buying that kid cheeseburgers whenever she wants.
I love 3,000 burgers.
Oh.
What you guys got?
Well, the easy answer would be Endgame, but I'm gonna go with Spider-Man, the video game, the recent PlayStation game.
Okay, I still haven't played that.
The actual story is very, it's literally like watching another Spider-Man movie. All the twists and turns going through Peter's life, trying to get his relationships together, work, stuff with Aunt May, and like you really get behind, especially being that you're playing Peter Parker, you really get behind him and root for him. And yeah, toward that twist at the end, it's like it's a total tearjerker.
Okay.
Because it also goes in with the great power and great responsibility thing and the stuff he has to sacrifice to triumph.
Is there a side mission in the game where you struggle to pay rent?
I think does he get evicted at one point in there? He might, or it might be close to getting
There's
evicted
definitely
somewhere
talk
in
of
there.
ection.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right then. Well,
I mean,
I don't
even-
need that in my life.
Yeah, I mean, it even has,
Too
has
real.
the Stanley cameo in there, which is
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
They do get that's a nice little cameo.
yeah.
All right. What you got, Leslie?
So for me, it was Torchwood: Children of Men, which is a 3-part, I guess, mini-series. The Torchwood was a series on its own. It was a spinoff from Doctor Who, from the more modern episodes. And it's about this small group of people in Cardiff who are working to, protect their part of the world from anything, to do with aliens, outer space, whatnot. And this particular feature focuses on aliens that have come and want, I believe, the majority of Earth's children, or some sort of percentage of them.
Here, take them.
Well, that's the thing. They had been there before, and one of the members, Captain Jack Harkness, he can't die, or he dies, but he comes back. He's not a Time Lord. Anyway, He was.
He's
he
not a
was
Time Lord,
there-
all right?
No,
No, he's a beautiful
anyway.
man.
Yes, he is.
He's a lovely human being. Lovely.
He was there when the aliens came the first time and demanded 10 human children. And they made that choice for the quote-unquote greater good and gave up those children. And so these aliens have come back. Most people don't know about it or weren't aware of the first time. And the only way to essentially defeat them is to use one child to focus some sort of technology on them, on that child, sacrificing them to kill the aliens. And yes, but Jack is aware. And it's his grandson.
Oh.
And he has to make that choice with his daughter, you know, they're crying like, you can't do this. But that's the only option he has.
Jack is like, don't hate the play, I hate the game.
So it's,
These circumstances, baby.
it's that kind of innocent sacrifice when it would be so much easier to self-sacrifice, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the sort of thing that gets me the most, I think.
The aliens like kids are like Pringles though for aliens, you know. It's like
They
you can't stop.
You can't just.
You can't just give them 10 and expect them not to come back for more.
Yeah. But dude, we went through that first 10 real too quick. Trying to get to Earth.
They
before
just
it
showed up.
closes for the night.
The aliens just show up at your door and they're like scratching their neck and they're like, "Look, man, I need some more kids."
There's anything under 10. But like to me, that goes along with the same concept of Hickman's Avengers run, where when they you know Earths are being destroyed all over the place within the multiverse, and
The incursions.
are happening, and the argument comes up of, do we destroy their Earth to save our Earth? Can we kill billions to save billions? And that's the whole beginning of the tension between the Illuminati there. And by beginning of the tension, I mean they just wipe Cap's mind and kick him the fuck out.
That was
And then
messed
begin building
Oh.
giant missiles.
Messed up.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love that run. What you got there, Mr. Martin?
Oh, okay. So I forgot what the question was. I was so busy focusing on eating kids that I just like completely forgot the question.
Terrible.
We were talking about delicious things, right? Now, for me, it's like I think there's been one thing that's kind of been King of the Hill for like 20 plus years now for me,
And it was the show King of the Hill. Which was
Damn it, Bobby.
It's the inner light from Star Trek: The Next Generation that hits me in the feels every single time. It's still my favorite single Star Trek episode ever. And I get to the end. It's unlike any other show in Star Trek history, any other hour they've done. And you've just lived a lifetime with this guy you barely knew, and you get to the end. It's just heart wrenching. And then at the end of the episode, after you understand what's happened, this probe was trying to sort of project basically the memories of one of this planet's residents into Jean-Luc Picard, and Jean-Luc Picard sort of takes on the role of this person and lives through an entire lifetime as this person in the span of about 40 minutes. And then he wakes up and is back in the normal world, and 100 years have passed for him. But on the Enterprise, it's only been like 30 minutes or so. And when he looks out the window into space and starts playing that flute, it's like, man,
yeah.
that just hit me. Every single time it hits me.
That episode was nominated for a bunch of stuff. I feel like it was, or that episode got the season nominated for a bunch of. Yeah, the Inner Light is what's mid TNG.
It was right in the middle. I want to say it was maybe a season 4 episode. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So friggin' good.
So good, man. I haven't watched that episode in years. I need to go back and watch that shit.
Yeah, honorable mention to that one episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air with his
Well,
his
my
father.
father loved me, man.
Yeah.
Man,
Oh, my
man.
God.
That joint is that's a rough episode.
That hit home, man. That was
Yeah.
like-
All right. Next to last one comes from Alicia Gomez. And she says, for Choose Our Own Avenger, it'd be fun to talk about how the horror genre has changed over the years and how we're in kind of a horror renaissance in terms of smart psychological horrors with social relevance. I can't talk about how the horror genre's changed because I don't fuck with the horror genre all that much.
They try to fuck with me, and I'm like, no. Stay the hell out.
Stay the hell out, horror. No, I'd be gone with you.
Yeah, I think it's Renaissance is the right word for it because we're going back to that now. Like it was the school of like 70s horror.
Yeah.
Where we were getting into that sort of like disturbing scares, not cheap scares.
Yeah.
Like I think like The Exorcist is like king of the hill there. But like when I like the whole period, like the 80s was all about slashers, gore, and then the early 2000s was all about torture porn and found footage.
Right.
Yeah.
And
no one remembers the 90s.
I'm really glad we're on the other end of torture porn specifically, and really the glut of found footage movies, because I think there's good found footage movies, but I also think there are a lot of them that are just they're found footage because we were trying to crap out a movie on the cheap in like 2 days.
Right. Yeah. Are we at the end of torture porn? Because Chris Rock is about to reboot the whole Saw franchise.
Oh God,
no.
really?
Yeah.
I mean,
Chris, is it going to be a comedy?
Chris Rock?
Please, please.
Yeah, the announcement came out 2 days ago, I think. Chris Rock is rebooting the Saw franchise.
I felt like we were there because we didn't get a lot of movies like Hereditary, like 10, 15 years ago. And that's why, like, the entirety of that first decade of the 2000s, really, I think the only horror movie I liked was The Descent. And maybe High Tension was in there, too. And that's a little torture porny, but it's like, okay. It's not like, all right, so like I saw Hostel, and this is the moment that I knew it was over for me in torture porn. Because Hostel, aside from being not really what staying in a hostel is like, whichever side you fall on, but there's that scene at the end where like that girl's eyeball is like hanging out, and our protagonist, I guess, like cuts the eyeball off and like mustard fall out. Right? It's weird. I mean, that face. That's the face. Yeah. That's the face of torture porn.
It was over for you. It was also over for Eli Roth in that moment. Never recovered.
No. So I'm glad we're on the at least in a place where we can sort of engage with horror on a more psychological level at this point.
I'm not a big horror buff, but like, I would say single-handedly Jordan Peele has got me kind of watching some of it now, because his stuff in horror in general nowadays doesn't rely on those jump scares anymore. It's more like twisted, disturbing stuff. Like,
right,
this is like when you're just thinking this is just messed
like,
up.
Like the Hereditary, like The Witch.
Yeah.
Like by the end, I'm just like, I feel like I need to go throw up, but nothing's coming.
Like I remember going home after seeing Us and worrying about somebody coming out of the backyard looking like me and like.
Oh, hey, I know you. Oh,
hello, you handsome devil.
I want to think it would be more like the end of Scott Pilgrim when Nigga Scott shows up. Oh, we're gonna get lunch next week.
I think part of the appeal of these psychological based movies is that we still don't know our own minds, and we pretty much, agree that there aren't real monsters out there. We are the monsters. So seeing that played out in Get Out, seeing that played out very oddly in Mother, which initially I argued wasn't a horror movie, but the more I think about it, with the tight camera work and the focus, it didn't have one single antagonist. It was everything. It was everything about the people who come and demand everything of you, of your art, of your life. So yeah, I think those things, those movies are being written because we are still the scariest things around.
Yeah, like what's the old girl coming up in Mama?
Oh, good. Octavia Spencer.
I was thinking Olivia. Octavia Spencer. Yeah, that's gonna be.
I still think hornets are the scariest thing.
Yeah. I can.
Hornets and sharks.
Sharks, I agree.
Flying hornet sharks.
Not gonna lie, that one scene in Aquaman, where all of those horrible, terrifying creatures are just shown like in one ginormous mass going up.
Yeah, he's like diving into the trench.
The trench.
That's a great.
Oh, I have to pull my feet up.
They got
off
those
the floor
fish
for that.
with the sharp teeth and the light bulbs on their heads.
Those things are
Give me
huge.
the willies.
Those things are actually huge.
Don't tell me that.
Somebody else has to share my horror.
I'm scared already.
If it's enough scary for Ulysses Claw, it's enough to be scary for me. I think horror is great right now. You got Haunting Hill House on Netflix that took the world by storm. Even Castle Rock was like kind of a psychological type deal.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they're trying to go back to more of the psychological type business. And I think It Chapter 2 is gonna really fuck with the head.
I just
Oh, man.
I just saw that trailer. That was
Old
was
women
not okay.
dancing in the background.
Yeah, that old lady. Yeah, no, don't.
Yeah.
Just old ladies out of context.
I'm
You guys remember that scene in what was the Wind movie? The Happening. There's that one. There's that one good horror movie nesting within the like 2 hours of stupid. They go to this old lady's house for shelter, and she's got all these creepy ass dolls, and she herself is really creepy. And like for a good 15 minutes, there's a good horror movie.
Okay. All right. There's
And
something
then
in there.
they leave, and it's the wind again.
No.
Like it's so good.
I'm kind of looking forward to Brightburn. I think it's coming out next week.
Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't decide how I'm going to feel about that because of the whole premise of it. It's going to utilize a lot of jump scares.
Yeah, I think it is.
Probably
I
because he
think it
moves
is.
really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean,
that's-
they've shown at least 2 in the trailers already.
Yeah.
You're putting things in people's eyes just not good
Yeah.
for me. John Wick did it too, so it's like just stuff in people's eyes left and right for me. I saw the Brightburn trailer and then the John Wick, and I was like, it's just too many eyes getting stabbed.
yeah, one is one too many for me. That's just how that happens. All right, the last one that we have here comes from the resident Paprika heartthrob, Evan Peanut Butter. Peanut Butter says Avatar made $2.7 billion at the box office, with Endgame biting at its heels, which I don't think it's going to catch. Sitting at 2.5 right now. Yeah, I don't think it's going to catch up.
It's your job, listeners.
It's
Go.
your job.
We gotta push this thing over
ignore
the edge.
2
every major
weekends.
release for the next 2 months.
2 weekends. Just go see it.
Yeah.
If Endgame can't topple that abomination, what will? Pitch your multi-billion-dollar movie
Good
that's
Lord.
going to reign supreme for ages to come, money no object, and you somehow have the creative rights to do any and everything at your disposal. All that matters is you dethrone that trash-ass movie, according to him.
Man. If only Pete Lentz were here.
Let me start.
Titties!
Trash ass!
Let me start off by saying, if we're pitching a movie that's supposed to dethrone Avatar, I don't want to put it out right here.
Right.
I'm just throwing money away, basically.
It's the best movie. It's gotta be.
I
it's gotta
took
be.
it more as whatever we pitch will
Yeah,
beat
yeah,
Avatar.
yeah.
Okay, I mean, yes. Whatever.
And you gotta
choose
think,
our own
it's
adventure
just like
movie.
when we do the draft. You got to play to your audience, not
Yes,
necessarily what you
yes.
think would be a good movie.
you got to play the audience, baby.
Oh no, I
Y'all
went
learn
the
that one
opposite
day.
way. This is exactly what I think would be a good movie. If it's gonna win, y'all get to watch what I want you to see.
Leslie, I think you'll like mine too.
I'll go first with mine. I think there's 3 key factors that goes into getting a movie to $3 billion. You got to already have an already recognizable property. Actually, there's 4 key factors. You got to have an already recognizable property that people can be like, huh, okay. And then you got to have one completely unifying story, unlike the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You got movies like Iron Man 2, Ant-Man, that have nothing to actually do with Thanos and the Infinity Stones. I think every movie needs to be one unifying story. And the third factor being, we're going to work on the assumption that if you were doing a span of movies, the other ones mostly were successful. And everyone's coming out to the last. That's what everyone's going to come out for, to see how it all ends. And then 4, you need to have what Avatar had, the perfect release date. The reason Avatar did as well as it did is because it had 2.5 uninterrupted months. It came out mid-December. January and February are where movies go to die, so people just kept saying Avatar over and over and over and over again. That's why it made so much money. That's why Endgame won't defeat it, because there's so many summer releases coming out now. So you gotta have the perfect release date. I am adapting a comic series that definitely has recognizable property called Fables.
Ooh.
I am adapting Fables.
Nice.
That way I
good
get
pick.
I get all the stories damn near at my disposal. I get Cinderellas, I get Snow Whites, I get Big Bad Wolves, I get Three Little Bears, I get Aladdin and all that kind of stuff going on. So you start bringing in the Fables from other. So it's all about, if you don't know what Fables is, it is about all of your children's stories as if they resided in their own specific kingdoms. So Snow White and that whole story is in one kingdom. The next kingdom right beside it might be Cinderella and her whole business. Someone is just invading every kingdom, and they're just fleeing where they can, and they've all ended up in New York. And the entire Fable story is about them mobilizing and going back to take what is theirs. And I think that is the final movie, is the final battle between the surviving Fables and the adversary, as they're called. And that's what concludes everything. That's what my $3 billion. So much like the MCU, it would be a franchise of franchises. There'd be a Bigby Wolf trilogy. There'd be a Snow White trilogy. There'd be a Cinderella and Prince Charming, which would be my Ant-Man and Wasp type deal. That is what I think. That final one called Happily Ever After, like the last volume of Fables.
Nice.
That's my $3 billion
Cinderella
movie.
in that series was like a super spy, though.
Yes, she was. She was. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It's I just read past the Aladdin-ish book where they bring out the djinn. That djinn just fucks up stuff hardcore. Yeah,
Good series.
great series. I mean, there's 23 volumes, 14 won awards. So yeah,
Good. There was one.
and
when
fuck Once Upon a Time.
Bill Willingham was doing a panel at HeroesCon a few years ago, and my buddy Andy asked him, who was moderating the panel, asked him if Jesus was a fable.
Ooh,
which is
good
the best
question.
single question I think I've ever heard at a
Yeah.
panel. And he artfully dodged it, but implied the answer was yes.
Yeah, there's something like every time I turn a page and I'm like, you got all the animals up there at the farm. Like that's the three little pigs or three little bears, and Goldilocks is dating the youngest one now, and all sorts of other weird stuff going on. That's where all the giants live at, and yeah, gotta love it. So who else has a $3 billion movie idea?
I do. See, I was thinking me
Are you
too.
just gonna take motherfuckers and turn that
Turn it into an epic.
that's making $3 billion?
Yes. No, I'm gonna do a adaptation too. I was thinking, yes, you have to go with something epic, absolutely epic. So I'm thinking doing this story where Darkseid of New Gods fame, he's in his quest for the anti-life equation, searches the multiverse and finds a particular mad titan with infinity stones.
Oh my.
And decides to broker a deal with Thanos. And he's like, hey, look, we'll get these stones. You can wipe out half the universe. The other half is mine.
Okay.
And it takes the combined might of the Justice League and the Avengers to stop these two in their quest.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yes.
all
So
right.
basically an adaptation of the JLA Avengers series from the early 2000s.
So instead of going the Marvel versus DC route, you're going the Marvel and the DC
Yes,
route.
yes. But of course, at some point, you're going to see the fight between the two of them.
Yeah, the initial miscommunication.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're going to be like, hey, who snapped everybody's neck?
Superman. Superman.
Stop snapping everybody's neck.
Superman pulls out a Mentos.
Why would you?
But,
somehow Quicksilver dies again.
But yeah, like seeing, like, granted they just did it in game, but seeing that shot of Superman with Mjolnir and Cap's shield, and like from that one cover of the
Yeah.
and there's so much potential.
Wonder Woman's had
Wonder Woman's done it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that there's so many opportunities for these epic shots and these great moments and
some Quicksilver versus Flash.
Yeah. Quicksilver, Flash, Namor, Aquaman, and
Yeah. Oh, I like that idea.
I would
a lot
love
of
to
money
see-
on the table there.
I would love to see a scene where Flash is running to try to pick up Mjolnir at full tilt, reaches out to grab it, and then his
whole
arm just stays
comes
there.
We don't need a Wally West anyways. Heroes in Crisis taught us that. All right, so who's up?
Oh boy.
Who's up next? We'll be talking about that on Paprika.
All right, I'll go next. So I thought about, okay, what is it? Because you've got to really kind of break down what makes a top grossing movie. Like back in the day when Titanic was like on top.
The bee's knees.
I know, or it felt like me. I was in high school at the time, and I knew people at school who had gone to see it 5, 6, 7 times, and they were all going over and over again for the same reason. Leonardo DiCaprio was so dreamy.
Okay, I could have sworn. I was like, this is Brian Martin talking. He's gonna say Kate Winslet's boobs.
No.
Okay.
No, I went and saw it like 3 or 4 times because I like watching boats sink.
That's a very specific genre.
But there was this just
Battleship Potemkin.
But there is this just group of people out there. It's the reason like these singing competition shows are still on TV. It's because people like my mother still love watching it and still talk about, oh, he's such a cute little boy, And
Yeah,
so
just
like
always rooting for
so
him.
we're always gonna. That's Titanic. It was Leonardo DiCaprio. Avatar. We've all met Pete. We know how he feels about blue ladies in the jungle.
Yes,
Right?
yes,
It's the
yes.
same thing. There's this carnal attraction that keeps us coming back for it in 3D.
Yes.
So this movie is called Shirtless Chris. Shirtless Chris features Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Chris Pine, Chris Noth, Chris Maloney, Christopher Guest, and they're all shirtless.
What about Chris Christopherson?
Chris Christopherson could be in there.
Okay.
Theoretically.
He's the mentor.
There's just no end, and they're all looking for the last shirt on Earth. But they can't find it until the end, and then they all have to fight over it, and they're still all shirtless, and that shirt's just getting like strewn around and tugged at, and it's like it's just going to be a really, I think, a very, very carnal kind of.
Watch the stitching. Watch the stitching.
I think you'd have better luck if they were all sewing their own shirts.
Ooh.
Does this
Post credit.
The world ran out of wool
scene
as well. The world ran out of wool.
now, does this fight take
okay.
place at a baby oil factory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was thinking baby oil or mud or something a little bit like slimy, get them
It was the
shiny.
baby
You
oil
gotta
factory's right
tie
next to the
into
land.
no. You've got to tie into the.
It's going to be around the world. I mean, it'll be all over
The
the place,
cleaning
like every
porn.
sorts of things.
The hottest thing for a woman is to see a man cleaning.
Well, that's
maybe-
where Jamad's
You
movie
gotta
comes in there. Fucking the bucket is there.
Shared universe.
Money
Shared
universe.
universe. Shirtless Chris.
Shirtless Chris. All right. I'll be damned. I'll be damned.
Action figures, everything.
And in the end, somehow Chrissy Teigen ends up with the shirt.
And if you push the action figure's arms, it's just like each one of their pecs just lifts one after the other.
And if it's like a pull string, you pull the string and nothing comes out because they're that vapid and empty. All right, then, Leslie, will bring us on home. We got a couple minutes left.
I went in a slightly different direction.
I really hope so.
I felt like you have to have a good story, something that's a little more fresh than what all is out there right now, and you have to have the potential for some really good visuals. So that's kind of what I went with. I would do an adaptation of Stormfront, the first book in the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher. It's an urban fantasy, and it's got a very noir detective vibe to it. It's also got, like there's a mob going on. There's Harry is the main guy. He's a wizard. He's a detective. He gets hired to find this one lady's missing husband the same day that he also gets consulted by the police on these 2 grisly murders. And so I think following those two in this sort of noir style would be fresh enough compared to what else we have going on to pull people in. And then you also have these magical murders and magical orgies, and you have this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, got my attention.
Yeah.
I thought orgies within themselves were already magical.
Right, you think.
This makes it even
Extra magic.
weirder.
Oh, wow, man.
But there's also this drug called 3-Eye that allows normal, regular people to have like the true sight that wizards have, and that aspect and the magic in general, I think, would have that potential for the visuals to help draw people in.
There's a big crossover appeal here.
And I would have it helmed by Guillermo del Toro. I want that sort of Pan's Labyrinth and Shape of Water mix of like the gritty and the surreal.
Fish fucking.
And I would have Harry Dresden played by Colin Morgan because he is amazing and wonderful. And if you haven't watched BBC's Merlin, then you aren't aware that he is already a great actor playing a magician.
Yeah, okay.
He's also in Humans, I believe is what it's called right now.
No, if we are. We are all those.
And then I would also cast Tessa Thompson as Karen Murphy. She is not a love interest. She is a female lead that coordinates with him, extremely honorable, extremely driven to help the people in Chicago, even though talking about magic kind of ruins her career a bit. And I think taking this into a franchise, because that's what the book series is, she would do a phenomenal job shouldering the character growth. in that
Well,
role.
I'm in for the Tessa Thompson orgy movie, guys. What about you?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Sounds good to
The
me.
only 2 things I heard.
So the key takeaways. All right.
No, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, I had no idea that series was so rich. I
Dude,
know that. What's
I've
his
heard
name?
that series
Yeah.
Butcher.
The guy from Arrow, and he was on one season of 24. He used to play Dresden on the TV show. Right?
Yes, he
yeah,
did.
yeah.
I
I heard that show
had
was
a
not good.
really hard time coming up with someone else besides him because he does have that sort of look. The show was not great. It was not a great adaptation. It
Right
was not a
cast, wrong
great
show.
show. It was just they took. They made a villain, a known strong villain, a sidekick type of person that was helping out, and it's like, no.
Well, there you have it, folks. $12 billion on the table right here.
Yes.
At least. And that is it for this episode of Choose Our Own Adventure, the May episode. This is May, right?
This is
Okay, yeah. We'll be back next month with June. And we'll see what's popping with June. We'll try and do it after Heroes Con, so maybe have some good Heroes Con stuff to talk about. Until then, you guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for donating at the $7 and up level. And you guys take it easy out there.
Give us your money.